The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. And joining me today on the panel are Thomas Sanarho. Hey, Thomas.
Hey, Dom.
And Joanne Mercier. Hey, Joanne.
Hey, Dom.
So tonight, or today, whenever you're listening to this morning, or, at midnight, I don't know, when you listen to podcasting, it's wonderful. But this time, we're discussing this great video by Alec Watson of the Technology Connections YouTube channel. We've mentioned the Technology Connections several times on the show, and at one point it was somebody's pick of the week. I don't remember if it was mine or somebody else's. Could just as easily been mine as anybody else. And Alec is a great way of talking about technology and complex subjects in a way that is accessible and interesting. I mean, he's got a series on how pinball machines work, and you'd think, wow, that's really dry. It is awesome. I don't understand a lot of it. It's still interesting. And that's what one of the things he does a great job of. But he had this video a couple weeks ago, or more than a couple weeks ago now at this point, on something called algorithmic complacency. And it's a little bit out of his normal kind of stuff, but he felt strongly about this subject, and it really hits home for, I think, our audience as well. And so I really wanted to talk about it with you all and bring it to our audience and kind of discuss it and open a conversation, at least. I don't know that we're going to come to any conclusions. We might, but I want to at least start a conversation about this. I gather you both have watched it. Just overall, your overall impression. We'll get into the details, but Thomas, your overall impression of what he had to say about algorithmic complacency, and maybe if you can do us the favor of sort of defining what he was talking about.
Sure. Yeah, I think it resonated with me because I have been moving myself very much away from this kind of complacency that he's talking about. The social media sites have been bothering me more and more as I've been going along with them. And so I've opted out of nearly all of them at this point. I think really the only social site that I use specifically geared towards being social is Discord. And so his argument was pretty much that we are currently in a spot where we are engaged in curated thinking, but the curation is not done by us. It's done for us by someone else. And that's what this algorithmic complacency is. And his big premise was that it's not so much the concern about that issue, that there are, as the concern that there are many people that are actively seeking that kind of algorithmic thinking, wanting someone else to curate items for them and looking for an algorithmic experience, to the point that he talks about experimenting with Mastodon and Blue Sky and having people complain to him about their experience there because the algorithm isn't doing the curation for them. So it's not finding them people to follow. It's not engaging them with a broader audience, and they're feeling lost because they have to put work into getting that social system started for themselves.
Right. That's a good basic round of what he was talking about. Joanne, anything you want to add to that from your perspective?
I guess as the old lady of the group, I have always looked at the internet as something that works for me, not that I work for it. And I guess I approach it that way. So a lot of what he was saying, I was like, yeah, that's commonsensical. But then I realized the people around me, the younger ones especially, that's not their experience. So trying to understand why they want things curated for them. I mean, I get it from one perspective, but from another, I'm like, are they not teaching in schools anymore what we should be doing? Are they just saying, go here and find? So I have a feeling that there is a big disconnect somewhere. And I was interested to see a younger person almost acting like an older person, like,
Right.
get off, like, because he did make he's going to be the old man screaming and like, get off my lawn. But it's that kind of a mentality. It's almost like an old school versus what's going on now.
What's interesting is what he's describing in this algorithmic complacency and having the internet curated for us. It actually kind of reminds me of something a little old school, which is old broadcast television, because broadcast television was curated for us. You turn on the TV and you can have channels that you can switch to, but that's like going to different social media sites. But everything on it was fed to us. Someone, a programming director or somebody decided what we were going to see. And we all kind of broke away from that once we could have streaming and the internet could provide us, entertainment and information. And so we went to that and we was like, yeah, I'm actively getting my, I'm choosing for myself. And then we all went there and became couch potatoes again.
And wanted it fed to us.
Right.
And it's more dangerous now too. And that's the other point that he made was really good about the context breaking, where the analogy, one of the analogies he brings up is that if you are in a restaurant and you're sitting and listening to snippets of a conversation near you, you might want to join them because it's something that you're interested in, but you won't because of the social context.
Right.
In social media, if you see a conversation happening, it's a public space and you automatically feel inclined to participate, even if you don't have the context of what's being said. And if it's he specifically makes it like if you're seeing a group of people that know each other making an inside joke and you jump in thinking that they're all serious, now you've altered the conversation and the whole situation.
I see this a lot, like with in-laws, like, on so this will be like a social media friends page, and there's a comment under it from someone who's got a different name, and it seems like a nasty comment or weird or awkward. And someone jumps in to defend the original poster, and they'll say, no, don't worry, that's my father-in-law. He's just joking. It's an in-joke. You see these. Heck, my father-in-law does that. He jumps in with weird things, and it's like it's an in-joke. We know each other. It's okay. And you're right. We don't have that context. The other thing I would say also, back to my analogy about broadcast television, is when we had broadcast television, even though it was curated for us, it was a shared experience. Everybody in the country saw ABC, NBC, CBS, the same programming. But now with the algorithms, we're having it fed to us and changed for us. It's being aimed at you and feeding it to you to engage, create engagement, to make you mad, sad, outraged, to be more of whatever it is they want from you. And that becomes dangerous. It silos us.
Right. Exactly. I was going to say it becomes a solo experience rather than when everybody saw the same thing. And the next day at the water cooler or at the lunchroom table, you could sit there and talk it out with others, where that doesn't happen so much here. The talking out is yelling at each other for not having the same experience.
Right.
And that's very, very isolating.
I liked his the example or that he gives when he starts out with. He starts with, I've got this old timey radio, a Silvertone radio. I want to find out more about it. It's something like one of the electrical schematics, I guess. And so how do I do that? And he talked about like how you would go through and, manually, several years ago, you would look at the clues and do some Googling, and somebody would have created a web page with old-timey radio information on it, and someone else would have a web page devoted to one particular brand of this, Silvertone brand. And, and now what do? We take a picture, we feed it to ChatGPT or whatever, one of the, DALL-E or Claude, and then we ask it, well, give me the schematics, and we just wait for it to get fed to us like Pablum. It's like, we don't have to work anymore. There's no curiosity in that sense that drives us. And I'm as guilty of this as others in many cases. I've largely replaced Google with ChatGPT and Perplexity for myself.
Well, the thing is that's what I meant before by, are we teaching research skills in schools anymore. How to methodically go, because the first thing when he showed the radio, I went, okay, let's see what the name of it is. What's on the face? This looks about 1950. Immediately my brain, which was triggered to that in the analog years, went for it. But yes, I understand too. There are things I feed into Claude, which is my preferred AI. And today I was feeding some stuff into it and it came back with something and I said, that's absolutely wrong. And I knew because I had done my homework. So I typed back and I said, no, this is what it is. And it went, oh, thank you very much for letting me know. And I'm glad that you pointed that out to me. And I will be more careful next time. But remember, my information only goes up to October of 2024. Thank you, Claude, for letting me know that. But this is the type of thing. If you don't know that, you take it verbatim as, yes, Claude should know this. And Claude's right. But not always. We're the ones who feed Claude.
Right. So one of the main points he's making is this idea that people prefer computers to decide for them what they see rather than actively searching for information on their own. And so we've become passive consumers of the internet. We aren't actively seeking out information, actively engaging with things. I mean, for a lot of people, Facebook is the internet. Like that is the internet. Like they go online, maybe they go to Gmail to check their mail, and then they go to Facebook to do everything else. And that's not healthy for anybody. It's not healthy for our society. It's not healthy for individuals because, I mean, like you, Thomas, I've been slowly pulling away from all the other social media, Discord, and actually Substack has really replaced a lot of social media the social aspect of social media for me, because that's not curated yet in that sense. It's not algorithmically curated. It's self-curated. One of the things he talks about is like, for a lot of people, young people, TikTok's For You page is, again, that's social media. That just feed me with, put my brain to sleep with all the constantly scrolling videos. YouTube does the same thing. I tell you, and for me, if I get into Facebook Reels or YouTube Shorts, I don't have TikTok on my phone, but if Instagram Reels, I'm scrolling because it becomes automatic. Like, what's the next one? Give me another dopamine hit. I
actually just realized a dark pattern the other day too that YouTube had developed for me, because I was tired of having to look back through my history to find videos that I wanted, because things would be in my history that had just started auto playing. So if I leave the screen still for too long, it starts auto playing. And so the dark pattern that it developed in me was to just scroll, to just keep the page moving so that it wouldn't start auto playing videos. And once I realized that, I was like, I'm done. This is not, no more of this. This is ridiculous. I cannot keep doing this.
and I shake my head because I don't do any of this. That's the fun part. Again, I look at the internet as, this is something I use. You're working for me. So I'm going to make sure. And the only reason I'm on Facebook and Instagram is because I need to do it for work. Because guess what? That's where the people are. That's where the parishioners are. So if you want to give them information, that's where you need to post it.
Yep.
So speaking of YouTube, he does mention, like, YouTube does have a non-algorithmic feed. It's called your subscription page. And he says almost no one knows about it. Although I have to say, that's the only part of YouTube I really use. And I use it through one of my picks of the week, an app called Play, where it brings up, I put in all the subscriptions that I have on YouTube into the app, and then there's a page within it that shows me all of the latest videos from all the people I subscribe to in reverse chronological order. So most recent one at the top, and then I can go through and say, I'll watch that one, and I put them into a queue, and that's how I use YouTube. I try, I'm not going to say I'm perfect or that I don't. I try to avoid going to YouTube and looking at random videos. I will look at related videos, which I think is sometimes useful. Sometimes I see, I've actually, where most of my subscriptions have come from is, oh, that looks interesting, and going and watching and going, oh, I want to see more from this person. But again, that's me. That's more active. It's not passive. I'm not just being fed stuff. being active about it and being thoughtful about it. And I think that's the difference is, what keeps coming to mind is the movie WALL-E and the people on the couches, the literal couch potato people in it, being like fat, dumb, and happy, being fed pablum and blech instead of being active about, what it is I'm consuming. We've gotten to the point now where there's young people use a phrase like, go out and touch grass, as in get away from the devices, get away from the screens, and go literally touch grass. Go outside. The idea of going outside is a radical concept for a lot of people, and it's kind of scary. So I think it's something we really need to think about. One of the things he talks about in this video is in the early internet, it was based on bookmarking, RSS feeds, and forums. I think you all probably remember, the three of us all remember the days of the early days of blogs in the early 2000s. I mean, that was a huge aspect of online community, and everyone, a lot of people would have a blog, and then they would have the RSS feeds, and they would comment on each other's blogs. And there was a thing called Saint Blogs, which was a sort of virtual parish of Catholic bloggers. And it was very convivial, very communal. And then Google took away Google Reader and basically destroyed that. And we all ended up going to Twitter and Facebook to kind of recover that communal feeling, that communal aspect. And they, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, all supplanted that, and they prioritize engagement, as Alex says in the video, over truth or depth.
Mm-hmm. And the interesting thing about that too is the more you look into that, and this comes from my time having been a social media director, engagement is never a positive thing. There is never a situation in which engagement equates to a positive interaction, because a positive interaction is normally 2 or 3 comments long. We're done. We've said everything that needs to be said. We're good to go. Right. Engagement is the fight that starts and has a 50 chain long comment section with multiple different people jumping in with their opinions and creating arguments. And so it really is exceptionally divisive. Like, that is the entire point of the way engagement is built on these sites. And you'll see the same thing in like the YouTube comments underneath a YouTube video. The longer strings of YouTube comments aren't going to be just nice things said or additions to what the information was. It's going to be a disagreement that starts and then goes back and forth between people who are getting angry with each other and want to have the last word. And the 2 problems I see with this, one is that if that's what drives algorithmic thinking, then obviously all social media is necessarily contentious at its base. Like, that's the algorithm feeds on dissension. It feeds on problems. The other problem is that the way that a majority of our chat programs that we're relying on increasingly for consumption of information, that's what they were trained on. So as polite as they might be, they were trained on contentious, divisive information. Right.
The LLMs are,
right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. The idea that, I like the way we put it, like engagement is not what we're after. Mm-hmm. Community is what we're after.
Exactly.
Sharing, connection is really what we crave. And I think that's an aspect of this. We crave connection with others. This is why we as a species, both spiritually and biologically, we crave connection with others and being connected, and crave community. And so we go into these places, these communal spaces, and seek that. But because there's this intermediary system, it's not just we can talk to each other in a big room. I mean, because that might get unwieldy, I guess. I don't know. But we replaced, like, the early days of, say, Facebook or Twitter, where it was just a reverse chronological feed of what your people you friended are saying. Now it wants to feed us the things that will keep us there longer watching the ads. And that's not about providing a good for us or for society. It's about commerce and business. I don't begrudge someone having a business, but what I do begrudge is being manipulated. And I think we've talked about this many, many times. So what can people do? What can we do to overcome some of this? So go ahead, Joanne.
Yeah, what I was going to say, going back to the old days, was when we had boards and blogs, boards were moderated by real people. If you got out of line, somebody would tell you so or eject you from the board. We gave that over to, the computer to do that, and it just willy-nilly throws you out for no other reason, because at least on boards and blogs sort of went together. Boards were where people formed a community. Blogs were where you gave your own opinion, and like-minded people would come and, into your sandbox and agree or disagree with you. But the conversations were conversations, not like the hit and run bombs we get now. Well, you're a this or you're a that, and that's it. And, it's like, hello. What was that out of left field? But that's what, now that we've given up moderation to a computer or an algorithm, this is what's happening. And it's becoming less personal.
One place where you can still get that personal human moderation is on Discord, well-run Discord servers.
Yes.
And I think an aspect of that is it needs to be small, not like tiny, but like it cannot be everybody. It has to be just a defined community for it to work, because there has to be a recognition of the personhood of someone else, not just random username online, but there's a person there and we can connect. I think that's an important aspect.
And interestingly, the more focused it is on a specific topic, the better you get that. Because suddenly you have something in common with everyone there, and you can have discussions with everyone on the board about that thing that you have in common. And then where you diverge, you can agree to diverge, but still have the thing in common. Right. And, that's the best Discord servers that I'm a part of. They'll have like a random channel where everybody can go and chat, and I stay away from those because I bet there are situations where I just don't want to know that about the people that I'm engaged with talking about a video game,
Yes, I agree. Yeah, that is very true. And another place was, like I said, Substack. Like my wife Melanie was saying, she's a poet, and she found an amazing community of fellow poets on Substack, and they can focus on that. They're focused around a topic. They comment on each other's poems. They read each other's work, and it's kind of regained some of that sense of a personal connection with people over a shared interest, as opposed to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, which is about everything and nothing at all at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, that's one thing about Substack. I'm on Substack. I'm just kind of reading right now, but I'd like to see how that would unfold for like a Catholic community, of like-minded people. Because I think that was the success of boards, where it were people who came together for a reason, whether it was a TV show or gaming or whatever. They came together for a specific reason, so they were like-minded. Facebook, TikTok, that all seems like the wild, wild west, where it's just everybody and their mother and father, and it can be anything at any time. So the algorithm gets to play more, and, it can be manipulated better for their own purposes.
Yeah. Imagine going downtown to your largest nearby city and hanging out in the commercial district with everybody else there and trying to have conversations with people as all of the chaos and whatnot going. There's a festival going on. I mean, you can't give anything too much attention. There's strangers butting themselves in, like you mentioned, Thomas, with the context collapse, those sorts of things. And so it becomes very difficult. Whereas if you have a defined community, a club that you guys go to and we get together, then you that focus. So again, what can we do? So I think, go ahead.
I was going to say another thing too is with the way that the social media works, and this is we go back to that RSS feed. I feel like there's a real that was stolen from us. Like the whole concept of RSS feeds and independent private blogs was really stolen from us by these digital fiefdoms that have just chopped up the internet into their little pieces, right? And it's sad to see them go, because now, if you think about it, everybody's on Facebook. Facebook controls the advertising. Whereas if I had RSS feeds that I had followed, I was going to that person's blog and I was supporting that person and their ideas. And it was a feedback loop that presented their ideas and made their ideas stronger, because I would give them support. That support would turn into actual reason for them to continue the blog. And now it's just, Facebook's just consuming everything. So all of that's coming. So the thing to keep in mind there is any situation in which you are not paying for a service, you are the thing being bought and sold. And I think I've said that a million times. But
right.
It's another thing to keep in mind when you're having these conversations about algorithmic complacency.
Yeah. I hate to keep going back to Substack just because I don't want to sound like I'm a shill for it, but that's one of the things I like about it is there's no advertising. Their business model is on Substack, you can financially support a creator, and sometimes a creator will give you extra whatever stuff for being a supporter. My complaint is the floor is $5 a month, which I would love to support many people. I cannot give $5 a month to every single person I want to follow on Substack. I am not that wealthy. If I could give a quarter or a half a dollar, I feel like if you could go lower on how much you give, a lot more people would give, and it would, a rising tide would lift all boats. People would be much better off, including perhaps Substack. I know there's transaction fees and stuff like that. So I get that maybe that isn't possible currently, but I like the idea because it's, if you are supporting that person, it's not, you're going there, you're going to their site, you're paying to see their thing. And if you're not paying, you're at least giving them engagement. They're seeing the people are reading and hopefully liking and commenting on that's actually even more than just the counter of the number of people. When you comment on a substantively, even just I like this because this made me think, because when you comment on other people's stuff, and not just amen or thumbs up, but if you give a comment, that is the type of community that you're creating beyond just consuming. And I think, and it's also not contentious engagement either. I mean, you don't have to always agree with everybody. I don't think we're saying that, but there's plenty of that already of disagreement. We need to kind of balance it out with some agreement.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong with Substack. Do you have to be a paid subscriber to comment, or just a subscriber?
It depends on the Substack creator. They can set their posts to be read only by paid or by everyone. They can set only those who are paid can comment. So it really depends on the so it's person to person. Yeah,
because I think I've run into a couple that have been, I've wanted to say something, but I'm not paying, so I can't say anything. And it's like, oh, great, guys, thanks.
Some of that's good though, because that forces the commenters to put their money where their mouth is, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Right. On the other end, it's a sort of gatekeeping to prevent. Maybe they've had bad experiences, and so if you're going to come and attack me, you're going to pay me to attack me.
There you go. Yeah,
there's maybe some of that.
It also reduces the number of bots that are accessing, which is a whole other algorithmic problem as well. Man,
I remember comment spam back in the day on the blogs. That was the pain. Okay, so do things like be intentional about what you consume online. Don't just open up TikTok to the For You, or open up Instagram or Facebook, or go to YouTube Shorts, whatever. Be intentional. What am I going to consume here? Don't just say I need to waste brain cells in cycles for the next half hour. No, if you're going to go online, have a reason. I want to go talk to my friends. Even as simple as that. I want to go to the StarQuest Discord and have some interesting conversations with people about art, books, music, TV shows, a movie you like. that's all going on in that place, and they're good, positive conversations. People are praying for one another. People are talking about their lives. People are asking questions about faith. Have a substantive conversation with somebody instead of just brain numbing for a while. Then the other thing I would say is bookmark trusted sources instead of relying on the algorithmic feeds. So have sites that you want to go to. There are a handful of sites that I regularly read their stuff. So whether it's a Substack, like I've been mentioning, but also other sites, like I have a handful of blogs and news sites or that sort of stuff that I go to on a regular basis. I mentioned how I follow certain YouTube channels. I subscribe to those channels to get their videos, not just page through Facebook, look, seeing what pops up. That's like the equivalent of sitting down in front of, your cable TV and scrolling through the channels. My brother used to do that when I was a kid, drove me crazy. He wouldn't stay on anything for more than 10 seconds.
That's my husband.
Yes, right.
Even now.
Yep. Another one that was suggested was engage in deep reading and active learning rather than quick consumption. This is a hard one for me. I have a hard time keeping my attention on long things that I'm reading in a web browser. I can read books, no problem. I read magazines, no problem. But looking at a screen and reading on a screen for a long period of time, my attention wanders. And I don't know if it's because I'm too old or I've let myself get sucked into the attention drift problem online as an overconsumer of technology. I'm not sure what that's doing, but I really need to be better at bringing my attention back to longer form reading. It's something you train yourself on. What do you guys think? Any other things that you would think that you should do to help combat algorithmic complacency?
I think we have to do some teaching of the younger generation. I think we do. There has to be a way to teach them how to research, teach them how to use the internet, not have it use them.
Right.
He really brought to my attention that this is what's happening to those way younger than me. And I can't, I want to know where we missed the boat on that one.
I feel like there's also another contingent of people who are using their computer to keep up with family. And so Facebook ends up being the only source of information that they have. And they aren't being aware of the fact that Facebook is more than just their family that they're being fed information from. And that's the other side of the coin too, where it's not just that people haven't been trained to do research, but it's that people haven't been trained to engage online. And it's a large portion of people that are missing out on it. And it's really kind of concerning to me because, and the way I always taught it, and if anyone's interested in teaching their kids how to do this, the thing that I think is really important is, one, never stop at your first source. So never read something on the internet and trust it by default. You always want to corroborate whatever you've read, whether it's from even from trusted news sources these days. You really want to go and corroborate what they've said. Get a different view. If you have something like Ground News, which is a fantastic site, collates all of the different news sources about a particular topic, gives you all the political leaning of what those news sources are so that you can check what's what. It's a really great way for you to keep yourself out of a bubble. And, I tell my kids about this all the time. You've got to be aware of the bubble that you're in, because whatever you're finding online is probably inside of that bubble. And it's best to push outside of that bubble, even if it's uncomfortable, to find some more information. So think about it like Wikipedia. Wikipedia is great to start your research, but not good to stop. You don't want that to be the only source that you have.
Right. I think that's really important. And now it's don't stop at the AI summarization at the top of the Google search results. That's like that. Don't even read that. Like if you're looking for a fact, like what is the capital of Ghana, it may be in there. Like, okay, that's all you need. But if you're looking for information that goes beyond that, what is, I don't know, what are the different perspectives on gun control? You don't want to read just the first one that comes up. You want to read several, and like you mentioned, of different opinions. So that's really good. He brought up something interesting that I hadn't considered before in the video, where he says that even tools like GPS prioritize efficiency over human-centered values. And what he means is, like, so you have to avoid tolls, go the shortest route, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but I kind of like going the back roads. Some days, like, if I'm going to work, I want to get there as fast as I can and get home as fast as I can. I mean, that's fine with the GPS. But like, if I'm going out for my family, we haven't done this as much lately, but we used to when the kids were little. Let's go for a family drive, and we just get in the car and we just start driving in a direction, and we might end up somewhere, end up at the beach, end up hiking in the woods, whatever. But we're just going, and that would be, let's go down this road. Oh, this looks like an interesting road, and go down that road. Like, if I was using a GPS, I would be go right there. I'm going to a destination. But as the trope says, it's not the destination, it's the journey. It's the friends you make along the way, like seeing your neighbors. It's getting to know your town. But he also kind of talks about how automation can also disconnect us from our surroundings and our neighbors. And, that can be a problem. One of the things we've cultivated with our kids is the importance of, we have limited screen time per day. And then otherwise, especially when the weather turns nice, outdoors, you're outside. There's other kids in the neighborhood, go find them. And it's interesting how a community of kids have grown up around my kids who are outdoors, and they're playing pirate games, and they're turning sticks into guns. Whatever. They're kids. They have swords, and they're creative play, and including the 14 and 15-year-old. Like, they're out there, and that's great. I like that. That's good, because they're using their brains and their imagination, and they're creating community. And there isn't enough of that, because I drive around a lot of neighborhoods where I know there are kids that I don't see any kids outside anymore.
I agree.
And that is not good.
And also, in the realm of religion and the spiritual, go to the source. Do not look up Catholic things online. Because you're going, or ask AI. I've been doing a little bit of that with Claude just to see how it would react to some scriptural things. And I'll throw something at it, and it'll give me an answer, and I'll go, nope, that isn't it. And then I again type it in and say, no, this is the correct answer. Oh, thank you very much. Good. I'm glad I'm feeding you. But imagine if somebody is looking at for example, the Catholic Church, and asking AI to explain some of it, and you get all of this gobbledygook, and they're going, well, then why would anyone ever want to be Catholic? Well, go see a priest, go to your parish, go to a church, ask a minister, get a Bible in hard copy form, and this can be, of course, related to anything else, but especially when it comes to religion and the spiritual. The computers in the AI world are not going to tell you, because they're not geared for that. They are skeptical.
I will tell you this. I've mentioned before, with ChatGPT, you can create your own custom GPT where you it's built around the source of information. I created a GPT and fed it all of the Jimmy Akin writings I had.
Ah, yes.
Every possible, and he's got a lot. His website, all of the videos that he's done, all the books of his that I had, everything I could, and it's good.
All right,
it's really good. I would have to admit, it is surprisingly good. I'm like, even to the point where I'm like, why didn't Catholic Answers create Virtual Jimmy instead of Father Justin AI? Because it would have been a tons better.
Yeah, that was.
It's remarkable. It's so, but to your point, Joanne, though, you're right. Like, I gave it all of the sources that it needed to mine. You can't just go to these things blind and ask them, because you're going to get, today, 5 years, 10 years. But even then, as you say, it's still a lot of this is still perspective, and a lot of faith and understanding is human. It has to be conveyed from a human to a human. It cannot be, a machine cannot do the work. So I think that's a really good point.
And you also have to remember that all the large language models are trained to do is tell you what you want to hear.
That's true.
And that's a really important point to always go in to engaging with them, is that they are trained very specifically, not just and I'm not just saying this. It's not like they're very specifically trained to tell you what you want to hear. And how do they know what you want to hear? Well, they guess it from the way that you've written a question. Right. And that's the entire operation of the large language model, is to follow the way that you've asked a question and try to give you an answer in the way that it's going to sound best to you. And
for a lot of things, that works really well.
Oh, yeah. No, that's fantastic.
And for many things, that would be a bad idea. So, to your point, which is a really good point. Yeah. I think we probably want to wrap it up here. There's a lot more that can be said. We probably will come back to this topic again because it's such an important topic. But I think the bottom line is, folks, be mindful of and intentional of the way you consume online. Don't just scroll, doom scrolling is what people say, or mindlessly scroll. Be intentional and think about what you're doing. Don't let the internet replace your brain for the thinking. So before we move on, I'd like to take a moment now to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Technology, including Adam G., Nicholas O., Logan K., Stuart J., and William C. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Technology and all the shows at StarQuest, and you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. And I should have mentioned, we'll have a link to that video in the show notes and some other resources, including Ground News in the show notes online. I'll give that link at the end. But first, let's move on to our headlines. And the first one, speaking of dystopian companies, so if you have an Echo, an Amazon Echo, very soon, everything you say to your Echo will soon be sent to Amazon, and you can't opt out. Now, that sounds very bad. For most people who have Echoes in their house, they probably, everything you say has already probably been sent. You probably haven't flipped the switch to not send it to Amazon. The vast majority of Echo users have not done that. But with the new Alexa Plus coming out soon, we'll have additional features. One of the things they said is that's going to require that everything to be done in the cloud as opposed to locally on your device. The local device will not have enough oomph and horsepower to do it. So they will need to send stuff to the cloud. Is this a deal breaker for you guys? What do you think? Joanne?
Oh, yes. And that's why I'm in my little Apple walled garden. Because a long time ago, I turned all those off. I have one A-Lady in my house. I also have A-Ladies, unfortunately, at work, because that's how we monitor the Ring doorbell that we have at the office.
Right.
But both of them already say do not send voice recordings. And since they're doing that, now I have to figure out, the only thing we ever ask the A-Lady is, what time is it, or a couple of other things, but she's our alarm clock, and that's about all she is. But I just don't like this. That's why I for as much people want to complain about Apple, at least they're trying to keep things on device. And you know what? I'll take that. I know there's a trade-off, and I know Apple's not going to be as good or as wonderful probably as others, but I'll take the trade-off because I have more control over this. And I'm a control freak. So, well, no. I just don't like the dystopian company, and that should be a Jeopardy topic. It's a great topic for Jeopardy. I just don't want them to know I know my information is out there in a lot of places I don't want it. Why should I keep feeding it?
Right.
That's my argument.
Thomas, how about you?
It's interesting because we just got our first A-Lady in the house recently as part of becoming a smart home. So I've got to do some decision making about it. I would really like it if they provided an option to buy enough resource on the item at home so that I don't have to send stuff back to the cloud. I find it very interesting. Well, not interesting. I know why they're doing it. It's very telling why they aren't providing that option. Because, they obviously want the information is much more valuable than the tool being worth more to them.
But see, to me, I don't care if they have every time I've asked it to set a timer and to give, to tell me what time it is or what the weather's going to be. It's the inadvertent activations.
Yep.
And a few years ago, it came out that a lot of private stuff was getting sent up to the cloud, and then some Amazon employees were sharing it around, the more interesting ones, around with each other. And that engendered a lawsuit, by the way, which they settled. And I mean, the big thing for me is the Echoes, the Alexas and the Echoes are all, it's constant advertising, it constantly trying to get me to buy stuff. And I'm tired of constantly, hey, by the way, would you like to hear about this deal? No, I just want you to set a 3-minute timer.
A lady, read my notifications, reads the notification. And now I would like to tell you about, no, I don't want to hear anything else. Goodbye.
Yeah. The one thing they probably hear more from me at the headquarters in the voice recordings that go up is, Alexa, shut up. It's just me yelling at it to shut up because it drives me crazy. I've had several in my house for more than a decade. I've had one of the original, lady in a can things. But I've added a few HomePods, and I'm thinking of replacing the ones I have, the Echoes I have, with HomePods, because honestly, I got one in my office here with the screen on it, and Alexa because for the Ring camera thing, because I wanted it to show me who's there, right. But it's so slow that by the time it brings up the video, the person's gone. And I can do it on my phone with the app, and it's faster. So it's useless for that purpose. And I have to turn it off. I have it on a smart switch to turn it off when I'm recording, so that I don't accidentally activate it, or it doesn't somehow hear what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. It's just crazy making. Although I have to tell you a funny little anecdote. I was watching a YouTube short the other day by happenstance of a car crash. I watch car crash videos. It's a failing of mine. I find them fascinating. But the guy in it is like suddenly yells out, "S lady, call 911." I'm like, my device.
You gotta stop them all. Stop.
Yeah. And then of course the video loops and it says it again. So it drives me crazy.
No, come to the walled garden and just don't expect a lot from Shlomo. The more I don't expect Shlomo to be all that in a bag of chips, I'm more pleasantly surprised at what it can actually do.
The Amazon one's not that great either. So
right. I don't actually expect much. I turn on lights, play some music. In fact, I use the HomePods now exclusively to play music because I'm on my music. I have iPhones. It works better with the phones than it does with the Echo anyway. But play some music, set timers, give me the odd bit of information. Although I can use my phone for that just as easily. I don't really need them anymore. Like the Amazon devices have become more nuisance than anything. So this may be the nail in the coffin for me to just unplug them and get a couple more HomePod minis, which are one of the best deals out there for, $99. Or they're actually even less than that now, maybe. Anyway, let's move on to our next headline. This is a very Catholic bit of tech news. St. Peter's Basilica becomes a fixable, explorable Minecraft world. So we mentioned a few months ago how that St. Peter's Basilica had been using AI and laser devices and all kinds of cool tech. They mapped the interior to a level that had never been done before in a 3D world. And this is one of the ways they're using it is in something called Microsoft Education, which is a very specific tool. So I don't think this is generally available to the public just yet. That kids can go in and explore St. Peter's Basilica, and then there's like a game inside where they can use scanners, which are analogs to devices that actual conservationists use, to learn about the basilica, its history, and to do restoration work, quote unquote. And yeah, it was pretty cool. I think it would be fun to run around to St. Peter's in Minecraft. It would be fun to see it. What do you think, Thomas?
It looks phenomenal. I am in 100%. I love Minecraft. This is my kids. We have Minecraft servers set up at home. This is definitely the kind of thing that they would be into. I hope that they release it broader than the Minecraft Education Edition, but you can get to Minecraft Education Edition. This is, however, a mini lesson that you have to have. So it's a little bit walled off in the Minecraft Education. I've tried to figure out whether or not you could get it for just any kid who has an education edition, but I haven't been able to find a way to do it. So if I find out more, I will definitely put some notes in the show notes for us.
Yeah, that'd be great. Because the article from the USCCB's website is a bit spare on the details. So,
I just can't appreciate it. I'm not a gamer, Thomas, at all. And I've made that very clear. Does it look cool for kids? 100%, 120%. Yeah. But I just don't, I mean, I think it's a good thing. I just don't know I don't know. I hope it's something that will bring, some better awareness for kids, not just Catholic kids either.
Mm-hmm. Right. There is a button on the Minecraft education page for this. Peter is here. Peter is here, not Peter is hair. Peter is here. Says open in Minecraft. So maybe that I didn't see that before. So maybe that is now working. I think I don't think this was up, but when I looked at it last time, so that'd be cool. So definitely something. I want more of this. Like, yes, do more, right? Do more of this sort of tech. Don't do the silly, weird, I'm an angel video games or whatever. Like, give us more cool stuff like this. Definitely. Maybe they could use the Assassin's Creed engine to do like St. Peter's, and you can explore it in high res. Because the Assassin's Creed,
that would be so cool.
The game engine, the graphics engine is so detailed.
Yeah.
Or even in VR, like walk around VR.
Just even do that, and then just have like historical notes on everything that you can access, just like with a museum walk. Right. That would be phenomenal, especially
for people who can't afford to travel to these places. But they can afford to go there on their computer screen. I think it would be awesome.
Yeah. And to give a frame of reference here too, it's scale. So it's at scale. So if you're walking around as a Minecraft player, you get to see the absolute scale of this, of the architecture, and it is overwhelming as a Minecraft player because you don't build things at this scale in Minecraft. You just don't. But this is all to scale, and it's absolutely incredible.
It's almost as awe-inspiring as when you walk in the real place, which is also like, whoa. So very cool. So our third headline is Judge disses Star Trek icon Data's poetry while ruling that AI can't author works. So what is this? This is Ars Technica. So this computer scientist tried to register an artwork, but credited the copyright to an AI system that he created, something he called the creativity machine. And the Copyright Office, the U.S. Copyright Office, rejected it, saying that AI software cannot be granted authorship. And this judge ruled on that and agreed with that. And she said all work has to be authored in the first instance by a human being because, and I thought this was interesting, many of the Copyright Act's provisions, it doesn't specifically say you have to be a human being in the law, but the law says only makes sense if an author is a human being, because it references to things like the life of the author and the family of the author. And so AIs do not have lifespans and they do not have families. So therefore, but then she went on to speculate in the future, if we ever do have an AI that's as smart as Data, but hopefully writes better poetry, because there was that one poetry from that one episode, which was pretty awful, that maybe we could, have the, an AI as a copyrightable author. But until then, things that people use Creativity Machine or other AI to make is going to be copyright to the prompt engineer and not to the machine. Thomas, I know you've been a big advocate of we should still recognize the AI as authors or as owners of creators of their artwork or whatever. What do you think of this?
My opinion has changed a lot.
Okay.
So, as LLMs have become more and more prominent, I feel like we've lost the thread on true AI, and authorship is kind of a distant piece of what I would recommend, especially as far as LLMs and prompt engineering goes. There are still definitely things that I think we should be crediting to AI, especially as far as scientific discoveries go. There are some very unique and novel discoveries that have come from AI, but those are truly they're a different animal than LLMs with prompt engineering. So I do have to agree in this case. This is not the person who wrote the prompt really should be getting credit with whatever comes out of that tool, because you wouldn't credit a brush with painting a work of art. You credit the person who uses the brush.
Right. Joanne, what do you think? As a musician, as an artist?
As a musician, it really is the person. You know, the creativity that's in each one of us is not something that a machine can really copy. So I just think that, I mean, writing, composing, arranging, these are things that people do because the nuances in the material. It's not, I mean, anybody could write a story, okay, or maybe put poetry together if you give parameters, but some of it might be boring, like data,
right.
you know, like data stuff, you know, but no, again, this is just people forgetting that AI, again, we are in control of it, not it is in control of us, or it is something that lives on its own. It's not going to be a being that will know all and see all and, you know, take over the world. At least I won't live for that.
Or even short of that, it doesn't think, it doesn't reason, it doesn't feel. It simulates a lot of those things, but it isn't any of those things. Yeah,
correct.
I think there's actually a really good music analogy for it. That if you think about it like jazz, there are many jazz standards that you have, and you might have an artist playing a jazz standard, but they do it in a clever, creative way that's different from any of the standards that's come before them. Well, the AI is really just that set of standards all compiled into one kind of big bucket. It takes a person who understands what they're going to get out of that standard to really come up with something creative. So that's where the prompt engineer comes in, kind of as that jazz artist learning to play the instrument well, or to take that set of jazz standards and make something clever and new out of it.
And not even just... Go ahead.
I was going to say, if I recall correctly, there was an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation in which Data was trying to be artistically creative. And he kept, well, I'm doing it in the style of, and I'm doing it like this artist or like that. And I think it was Picard trying to convince him, no, Data, you have to have something that's you, that's uniquely you, not just copying the style of someone else. And I don't know if he ever I can't remember now, my memory being what it is, whether he actually got to that point. But, you know, in reality, I don't think he would, because, again, machines cannot be truly creative in that sense because they don't have the spark of life. They don't have the spark of the divine that gives us access to the primordial reality of truth, beauty, and goodness.
As a performer and as a singer a long time ago, let me try to explain. It's the difference between singing something with a depth of feeling and phoning it in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
People can phone things. I mean, you could sing all the notes perfectly and you could sing it in a specific style, but there is a difference between just replicating that and actually internalizing it, doing something with it, and conveying it in such a way that people believe that you are feeling it right when you're singing and you are reaching them with with a similar feeling, or try to get them in touch with it. That's the difference in being an artist and being a singer, or just a pianist or any of that. Being an artist, you have to be able to do that.
I think you're onto something, because an indelible part of art is feeling. is emotion, is the conveyance of something of myself through emotion, feeling, and thought. And a machine can't do any of that.
Right.
It can't convey any of those things. And so therefore it only becomes a performance as opposed to an artistic endeavor.
It can tell you exactly what you want to hear, but it can't tell you the truth.
That's exactly.
That's good.
That's excellent. Excellent. Good discussion. Thank you. That really, it really took us to some good places in this discussion. So those are our headlines. Let's go on to our picks of the week. And Thomas, why don't you lead us off with your pick this week?
All right. So we have been Spotify customers for about a year now, and it was all right. There were some social aspects of it that were really good. I was not a fan of the actual music that I was getting, though. And so I started looking into some other options for music services and came across Deezer. Tried a couple of others, too. So I won't mention the others because I don't want to distract from it. But if you are a current Spotify customer and you are a music lover who really like, especially if you're an audiophile, Deezer might be the one for you. You can get full breadth downloads from them that the actual quality of the music is noticeably better. And I am not a huge audiophile, so I will admit that is not my strong suit, but I noticed a difference moving from Spotify to Deezer. So you do actually get better music downloads from Deezer. I will say you are going to be moving away from a company that is a social company first with music as an add-on to a music company first with some social options added on. So the search isn't as seamless as Spotify, and there aren't as many easy ways to share your Spotify, your lists from Deezer with other people. But the quality of music dramatically better. They also pay their artists better. So the per play pay on Deezer is, I think, almost twice as much as what the artists get from Spotify.
Interesting. And it looks like there's a way to, if you're on Spotify, to bring all your playlists over to import them, so you don't lose that. That's good. I saw something that was like something like Spotify is like 60% of the market on music streaming.
It's absolutely huge. Yeah.
Interesting.
That's part of the impetus that I had to move away from it. And then once I discovered that they were doing a lot of compression stuff with the songs, I was like, oh, really? I hadn't noticed that. And then I started playing some music from Deezer and I was like, okay, I do actually hear a difference here. And that's amazing.
Interesting. They also have on Deezer podcasts as well.
Yes.
So I don't know if our podcasts are there, but maybe I should go check it out and see if they are, because that'd be interesting to see. Excellent. And let's see what the cost is.
It's roughly the same. It's a little bit cheaper, I was finding, than Spotify. But if Spotify, if you try and quit Spotify, they offer you the same price as joining Deezer. So there you go.
They know where you're going.
Exactly.
The family plan is $20 a month for 6 accounts. So those limits just drive me crazy, because there's 7 people in my family.
That is not a family.
But yeah, my daughter my youngest is on the outs, and so I've had to put her. Log her in, like in Apple Music, on my account on her phone, and I have all this awful music on my account that keeps coming up. This is your most played music. I'm an old fogey. My kids do like 80s music, so that's good. But yeah. But they also like this other weird stuff that they pick up off of Twitch. You know what I'm talking about, Thomas.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I have no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah, you don't have teenagers in the house, so you haven't run into that. So, Joanne, what's your pick this week?
Well, since we were talking about taking control of things, YouTube Premium is my choice, because you get to take control of those nasty ads, number one. Okay. And they are nasty. I have bought YouTube Premium for my husband. I bought it for him for his for Christmas a couple of years ago. And then he said, oh, that's too much money. Don't keep it going. And last year was like, is there any way I can get this back as a present? So for his birthday this year, I said, okay, it's back for your birthday. He watches way more YouTube than I do. And the ads make a difference, because they're not even intelligent. They
No.
show up wherever, like they dropped in. So if you
In
don't
the middle
want
of a
that,
sentence.
right.
Yeah.
So if you don't want that algorithm running your life, then there's one thing. And yes, curate your subscriptions. Now I don't use YouTube, in that way that I just put a bunch of things in subscriptions and watch those. But I do when I saw this video, I went back and looked at all my subscriptions, and I've got a lot of good stuff there. Because what I'll do is if I'm researching something and I find a channel that looks interesting, I would subscribe to it just so in case I need it again, I'd go back. So yeah, if you just went through all of your subscriptions and use that Play app, then I think you'd be a lot better shape of taking control of these algorithms, at least there in YouTube, than letting it just feed you. But YouTube Premium, it's $139 a year. It's tough. It's about as expensive. I'm trying to think of the other one. I think I paid
Amazon
that for
Prime.
Max. No, I pay that for Max too, to get ad free, get ad free for Max.
Yep.
But a lot of people use YouTube as television. They use it as music. So I think if you pay for it, you own more of the experience. As you were saying, Thomas.
It's the second largest search engine in the world.
Yeah. And there you because I can find just about any video there now.
Mm-hmm. Right. It has been for years. The only reason that it's never included in the list is because it's owned by Google and is technically part of their function.
Search engine.
Right. Yeah. And it gets confused with YouTube TV.
Right. It's not YouTube TV.
No, this is not YouTube TV. That's totally different. Yeah. But it does get confused with it because even my husband said, well, wait a minute. Didn't we have that? No, this is different. So I had to explain that to him.
Good. Excellent. Good idea. So my pick this week is a little bit of hardware that I picked up for my new M4 MacBook Air that I picked up. So the new M4 MacBooks came out. That is a future pick of the week, I suppose. But it's only got the USB-C ports, right? Which is fine. So I have the old HyperDock that you picked before, Joanne, on my old M1 MacBook. But I don't think they had one for this one because they have the new MagSafe power on the new ones. So I picked up. I said, what does Anker have? Because that's my first question whenever I need a little bit of tech is what is Anker selling me? So I went out and I found Anker has the Anker laptop docking station 8-in-1. It's got a dongle that plugs into the USB-C port, and it's got not one but two HDMI ports, which is awesome. So you could run two monitors off of it. The M4s can run two external monitors and the internal monitor as well. That's new with those. So that's awesome. And then Ethernet. It's got a couple of USB. You can do power through it if you want, if you don't want to do the MagSafe power. So it works really well. It's $45. And it's Anker, so I have no compunction. Just click buy.
I'll second this one because I have one sitting in my mother-in-law's room to give her extra monitors for her laptop.
Right.
Excellent. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, Tom, couldn't you still do the MagSafe because the MagSafe, that power one is a USB-C, and you could still use it at least to put everything together, not have a brick. Right, another brick in your life.
This one's got a separate charging cable, so it's actually it's one of those things that you complain about until you realize why it's been done that way. Because in just that situation, it's got a separate charging cable that it doesn't rely only on the charge from the computer as well.
Right. Okay. Right. So I do have a supplementary tip for everyone. This week, both my sons are in a Boy Scouts. We went to the local fire station for the talk on emergency preparedness and stuff like this. And I got to talking with one of the firemen after. And one of the things he said is the number one thing that they are encountering now are bad batteries, batteries that catch on fire. He said, if you have any batteries in your house that are not UL listed and you need to look on them or look on their listings before you buy them, get rid of them. Get them out of your house. chargers, anything, any power blocks. When you're buying stuff for Amazon, this is why I go for like name brands like Anchor that I can trust, or Ugreen, or some of these others, because you can't trust the no-name brands, especially if they have batteries in them. They just it's too dangerous. It's too big a risk. So I just want to tell folks, when it comes to battery and power stuff, buy the name brand, pay the premium, be safe. That's the big thing. He says that's a lot of what they're encountering with home fires now. So
makes sense.
So that does it for us this time. We would love to get your feedback on anything we talked about in this episode. If you have any comments you want to say on algorithmic complacency or copyright or anything like that, we would love to hear from you. You can do that by commenting on the show at sqpn.com/technology. You can go to the StarQuest Facebook page, facebook.com/StarQuestMedia. Send us an email to technology@sqpn.com. Visit the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/Discord. And you'll find links from our discussion and our picks of the week on our show notes at starquest.fm/TEC293. And by the way, we're going to have another episode when the three of us together again. We're going to be talking about home appliances. We talked about some smart home kitchen tech before. We're going to go up to like appliances, smart appliances, and the tech of appliances. We've already gotten some stuff in the email from folks that wanted the suggestions. If you have suggestion for any smart home tech for the kitchen and the appliance space, let us know. Send us some feedback. We'd love to share that in that episode. Now, remember to like each episode of The Secrets of Tech wherever you find us on social media. Retweet it on X. Leave us comments. Be very intentional. Engage with people in conversation, not just in contentious debate. And remember, until next time, Joanne Mercier, thank you for joining me in sharing The Secrets of Technology.
Thanks, Dom.
Thomas Sanherho, thank you as well.
It's been great.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to The Secrets of Technology on StarQuest. Here's another show on the StarQuest network you're sure to enjoy. Vatican II in a Year. Find it wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/Vatican.